You're watching the Fox 5 Morning News at 8.
Coping with heartbreaking headlines, we all have to do it, like the recent shooting in Gilroy, for example. It can cause anxiety, sadness, even isolation.
Joining us this morning, Koshin Paley Ellison, a Zen teacher and author of Wholehearted, Slow Down, Help Out, Wake Up, with some tips on how to avoid all the negative feelings. Koshin, good morning, and thank you for being here. I talk about this often because I tend to find ever since, especially social media came up, we meet a lot of people and they express that they're just struggling. It's anxiety, it's fear, it's all these things, especially with the social media. What has changed over the past few years with all of this?
Well, I think what's happened is that there's an incredible amount of social isolation. Busy flipping and liking and all of these different things that I call it zombie land. It's like that we are not actually connecting to anybody. And in the last couple of years, the number one fear that most incoming freshmen have going to college is talking to people.
Oh, wow. In person, face
In
to face.
person.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's this, pandemic of social isolation where we forget to have what, I like to think of as wholehearted conversations and really learning to really ask questions in a real way. And it's something that we all know when someone's asking a question and they really want to know the answer. Like, how are you? How are you?
Right.
Yeah.
And I've trained myself, because I tend to sometimes answer honestly, and then I realize, oh, they just want to hear, fine, and move on with their day. But I like how you said the isolation thing. There's an irony to the fact that we all have thousands of friends, hundreds of friends on this social media, but really the isolation's worse than ever because there's a disconnect, right? There's a disconnect. How do we change that? How do we improve upon that? Because this isn't going away anytime soon.
No, but I think it's all about balance. So it's not about villainizing social media, but it's about how do we learn how to have meaningful conversations and meaningful relationships, because we could have thousands of friends on social media, but actually have no one who will really show up for us when we really need them.
Right.
And so what I always encourage people to do is to think about how do you cultivate those relationships where you can share your hopelessness, or you can share your joy, or you can share your full range of how you want to participate and what makes life complex and amazing.
Yeah.
And so learning how to slow down in relationship.
You talk about some of those complexities in life, feelings that we struggle with here on the news, is sharing the sadness that people deal with. You just had that little boy who lost his life up in Northern California at a festival. It goes on and on. It's not just us that are affected by this. It's people who are watching that are sad for the rest of the day. How do you get out of those moments? Because it's very easy to stay there.
Yes, I think it's so easy to stay there, and I think that one of the ways is really learning how to soften, really soften into our experience so that we're not just sending that article to someone and saying this is awful. How do we take a moment to talk to someone, whether it's a friend or a coworker or a partner or someone that you know, and say, wow, I'm feeling so helpless.
Yeah.
And what happens is the problem tends to be when we don't share what's real with anybody in a face-to-face way. And so what I encourage people to do is it actually feels good to connect. Like, wow, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? And then
the feeling is different. You can tell when you talk to somebody in person, it's a different feeling that you get than any other way.
It's like babies. They need an expressive parent. The face is everything. And actually, babies that don't have an expressive parent really looking at them and sharing a range of emotion don't develop well. And that's the same for us as adults. And so how do we learn how to help out? So actually we're helping others when we reach out also.
You're the co-founder of the New York Zen Center, which we were talking earlier. It's ironic that you're encouraging people to lessen their anxiety and to slow down. And you're in Manhattan, it's New York. How do you do that there?
Moment by moment, to really learn how to slow down and actually participate. We our center's on 23rd Street in Manhattan, which is this big thoroughfare. And it's so amazing because if you walk down 23rd Street, or you walk down the street in San Diego, and you're actually aware that you're walking down the street, you start to notice other people who are walking down the street. And you recognize each other, and you're like, hey, you're here, you're here.
Yeah.
But most of the people are not here.
Nope.
And so how do we wake up from that?
Wow.
And it just takes practice.
It's like a different version of stopping to smell the roses.
Totally.
But see, she was right. No, I know what's going on. So you're here in San Diego. So this is great. Tell me about the appearance and what we hope to gain from this.
So I'm giving a talk tonight at Dharma Bum Temple, which is near the San Diego University, and I'll be giving a talk about how to live with freshness and receptivity and connection. And I'll also be teaching on Thursday for the Integrative Medicine Fellowship, and so teaching doctors about how to bring this resilience of connection and receptivity and freshness into their work.
See, I get you.
I get him.
Nah.
I do.
You got more work to do. Koshin,
I
thank
do,
you.
right? Look,
Thank
he
you
can
for
tell.
being here. Nah, we'll talk a commercial break. You can
You
tell
have
what
that
you really think.
Like you can tell when people get what you're saying. Like I get it.
For more
Why did she
information on
say I don't
Koshin's
get
book,
it?
you can go to foxfivesandiego.com, click the Scene On tab. You have this energy to you that's very like, right, Brad? And then Koshin's here, and he's just speaking so with the pause, and I love it.
I love this.
Very
It's mellowing me out, man.
So I was what did you say?
It's mellowing me out.
Mellowing you
I'm
out.
Cuban. It's by nature. I'm not a, I mean, I can't. It's hard for me to
I
slow
was in
down.
the weather center listening in my earpiece, and he kind of brought me down. So I was meditating.
Oh, I love
the
it.
way he sounds. And
Contagious.
We need
dude.
this guy here like
Contagious.
every day.
Yeah, I didn't hear the part where about how do we get off of our phones because
No,
yesterday
he didn't say to get off your phone.
don't
He
get
said,
off of your phone.
Like moderation.
Balance.
He said balance.
I'm walking to Pacific Beach, and I noticed yesterday
we take
more
a
people
photo
are like
for
this
my
with their
mom?
dogs. They're walking their dogs like this. Have you ever seen this?
Oh yeah, taking photos.
Yeah, it's like, and then they're jerking their, and I'm like, oh come on.
Well, that's not taking a photo. That was me Instagram Live.
That was
How dare
Raul. My
you. It's
bad.
different.
My bad. 67 degrees downtown.